Hello. This week I'm going to be looking to build my first bolt action version 3 army. Obviously I'm going to be looking to, update all my previous armies at some point and, reset them up into configuration for version 3. But this one I'm doing specifically. Now, as you can see, I have got some Commandos already. I've got two 10-men squads really that I just used as an additional squad thing to bring on. But what I'm looking to do now is to build them up into an army in their own right. Obviously, the main thing I'm thinking about is using them for D-Day. To gun relieve Pegasus Bridge from the Airborne to make their way from the beach to that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to open this up. That's everything. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fill the gaps for these two that I've got there. So I need a loader for my two light machine guns in that back squad. So I'm going to build up standard riflemen, but then put an extra weapon canister on those. But I'll show you those when I get to them. Right, let me just crack on with some of them, and then I can bring you back at intervals and show you what I'm up to. Right, so let's see if I can just make this a bit clearer now that I've been working on it. So this group, this is going to represent my platoon leader, and he's going to have a couple of support submachine gun men with him. The metal figure of my platoon leader is also metal with a machine gun. And the first squad, a rifle squad, because this is a rifle platoon, is all riflemen with the exception that I've got a light machine gunner. And if you remember, I'd got to build the loader. So let me just show you the one that I've built for that. Now, I've messed around a little bit with this figure because I wanted it to be a bit unique. So I've had to modify this right hand, and then I've used a hand from another arm to be reaching for the ammo pouch. Is that near enough for you to see? So he's reaching for that, and he's looking over at the chap with the light machine gun, getting ready to pass him the spare ammo pouch when he needs it. And then obviously just carrying his rifle loose in his left arm. So that's the figure that I've put together for that. As I say, I'd just like it to have a bit of a, a unique pose if I can, just to make them a bit different. Right, the second squad, whereas that one was all rifles, this one is all submachine guns, again with a light machine gun. And again, I needed a loader. So again, I've kept him with a machine gun. And as you can see, I've moved his arm to one side and he's reaching down for the pouch to do similar to the other one. And it's just to give it a bit of a different look really, and also to signify to me that he is a loader. And that's going to make him distinct enough for me to see when he's on the table. So that's the second squad complete. Now, I've got a third squad in this rifle platoon. Now, what I've decided to do here, I did contemplate just keeping them all green berries, but I just like the idea of using, you know, the cap comforter hats, because that's what I think it probably, you know, because back in the day when the Airfix models were around, I always remember the Commandos I had then. They had these on. That's the hats. They didn't have the berries. They had those. And so I wanted a squad that had them cap comforters on. And the other thing is, I thought these would be quite good. I could use them as like a, I don't know, a raiding party in a different game maybe. Or I can basically use them as a hit and run squad. And with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 4 submachine guns. So it's not going to be like the others where it's all one thing. It's going to be 4 submachine guns, 4 rifles, and again I will go for a light machine gun and a loader. But the difference for this one is I'm going to have these as tank busters, so they're all going to be, you know, with anti-tank grenades. And I'm going to just signify that to me by just putting a grenade on each of these, so I know that they are the ones I want for that. So that's what I've got to do now. I've got to build up the rest of this squad. And then after that, I've got a medic. Again, I'll try and make that a bit of a unique pose because I'm not going to buy a specific medic. And a forward observer artillery. So I need, again, a unique figure for that I'm going to try and, you know, mackle together myself. And then a sniper group. So again, I'll probably be using my British infantry weapon sprue to help me come up with a sniper team. And then that'll, there's one other thing then for this rifle platoon, and that is going to be, I'm going to have a higher officer, because obviously that's where I'm going to bring in Lord Lovat. But I'll talk about that later when I get to it. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the rest of this squad done, and then when I'm ready to start on perhaps the sniper group, I'll bring you back. Right, back in a minute. I've just skipped onto another little project really, but it's just something I come across. I had some different crates and things from another job a long while ago, and there was some miscast pieces in among it, but I kept this because I thought it looked like I could use it. It's just I think it was supposed to be a crate, and all the ends come off, and what I've done is I've just used my little saw to saw this piece off to thin it up, so you can see where it's come off. And then what I've been doing is I've just been filing a bit of shape to it. And I think it was some kind of weapon crate. But anyway, if I bring it really close, I'll show you what I'm going to try and do with it. You see that? I think it had like the weapon sticking out of it. I don't know where it was from. But I've cut that back off and filed these grooves into the front. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to build up a crouching commando. because I haven't got a forward observer and I don't want to buy the set just for a radio man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this up like it's the radio. And then another idea that I had was, you know, these little like bread twists, you know, for resealing your bread. They used to come in all the packs, but you don't get them so often now. And what it is, it's some very, very thin wire. If I can get this piece out, I can show it you. And it's wrapped in like a plastic, but if you peel the plastic off, well, you can see this piece of the wire anyway, can't you? Look, you see how thin that is? And I thought that'd be perfect for the wires to go up to a set of headphones on him. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel that back to get the wires, and then I'm going to use a little bit of green stuff just to put a couple of headphones on his head when he's built up, and then bring them down to the radio. And once it's glued in place and it's painted up, it should look quite convincing. A lot of trouble to get to, I know, because it's not a deer set, but at the end of the day, it's these are things I've got, so I might as well use them.
Right, so I've skipped ahead here on the photo. You can see I've twisted these little bits of green stuff to roll up, and you can see I'm using them for earphones.
Well, he's finally done. I know it looks a little bit scruffy at the minute, but once it's had its primer done to it and you start adding the paints, that'll all disappear. The main thing is I've got what appears to be a bit of a radio man. I don't know whether you can make out his other hand's holding his binoculars and he's referring to the map. And then obviously the wire has made up his little headphone set. You can see the wires going down to the radio. Bit fiddly, I know, but sometimes I just like to do little bits like this rather than just buying a stock piece. It's not for everybody, I know, you don't need to. But it's just my way of making my army just a little bit different from, you know, straight out the box set. I don't do it with everything, just tend to do it with things like this or the snipers, because that and medics is the other one I like messing around with. I wouldn't do it on something like an MMG or a mortar or anything like that, because you need the kit anyway. But with these type figures I do like to play around with them a little bit. Anyway, I'll get back to making up the third squad. I'll get that complete. And then when I'm ready to start the sniper, I'll bring you back.
Right, so I've skipped over to the sniper. And I've spliced the sights off of another rifle onto there, because that was the easiest way of getting them on, really. And now I'm just building up his teammate, his spotter, if you like, and connecting a rifle strap so I can sling that on his back. And I've used a little bit of the leftover green stuff to make a medic patch for his arm, which I'm just teasing into place. And then the other thing is I've used a medic pack from American Airborne and a satchel to his midriff.
As you can see, it's took a little bit of fettling really, but I'm quite pleased with my little sniper team now. I did have to take the sights off of another rifle to put on there, but I think it works quite well, and I've managed to get him into a meaningful pose of looking through it. Same with the spotter really. I found a pair of binoculars on the British sprue. I think I pinched the hand from oddly enough, a German crew, because it had the nice open hand that I needed to put the binoculars in. And I think the other arm as well came. No, that one was from this set, wasn't it? Yeah, that arm was from this set. The hand was from a German set. The binoculars I got from a British weapon sprue. And then the sniper sights I took from the British weapon sprue as well. I did have to slightly melt the arm by putting a bit more glue on it to get it into the position I wanted it. But in the end I think it was worth it. So that's my sniper team now. And I've done something similar with my medic, as you've seen from the photos. I've got the little bandage that I've put in his hand from American Airborne. The square satchel that I've strapped on his midriff. I don't know whether you can see that hanging just there. I think that came from an American set, as did the bag, but then I've changed the arm to match the commando uniform, as you can see. And then a little bit of green stuff, because I'm going to put a Red Cross white, bandage on top of his arm there, just to indicate that he's a medic. I think the official medic for the commando is carrying a stretcher. I just don't really like that one, so that's why I've gone with this little bit of a creation. I mean, they always look, a little bit adult, because obviously you've had to be a bit messy with it. But once it's been primed and it's ready to paint, that'll all come together quite well. So that's... Oh, the other thing I haven't shown you is... Let me pan that back a little bit. Is the third squad of my rifle platoon. And as I said, I've gone with 4 machine guns, a light machine gun and a loader. Again, I've crafted my own arrangement for that, so he's reaching for the ammo pack again, but it's different from the other 2. And then 4 riflemen, and then this chap I've designated as the NCO. So that's the 3 squads. Just pan it over there a little bit. So obviously I've got my platoon leader and 2 men, my rifle squad, machine gun squad, and then that's a mixed squad, but it's got the other hat. So I've made them, look to me like the Commandos I used to have back in the Airfix days. And then, just to bring you up to date, we've seen the sniper team, you've seen my medic, and then obviously you've seen this already. That's my little forward observer. So, the only thing left for me to do now for this platoon is I'm going to have an IR officer. So let me just clear my decks a little bit, and then I'll bring you back and we'll talk about what I'm going to do for that.
Right, to finish off this platoon, I'm going to have an IR officer. Now, I'm looking to use Lord Lovat, and although he was a brigadier, it says in the rules that you can use him as a major. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing.
Just to fill you in on the background of these figures, this is the Warlord set. So you've got Lord Lovat as he was visualised in The Longest Day, with the jumper out. Piper came with kilt or an alternative leg set, and I've gone for the kilt. And then the other part was you've got Brigadier Peter Young. So that was the Warlord set. Artisan did this set, so they've got traditionally dressed with his jumper underneath his tunic for Lord Lovat, and then Piper Bill Millin is trousered in their set, and then you've got 2 additional officers. So what I've done is obviously one of the officers I'm using as my platoon leader. I'm gonna stick with the Longest Day visualisation of Lord Lovat, because I just think it'll stand out for me and make it easier for me to recognise who he is. I will paint up the others, but I'll keep them as a reserve. So, and then obviously I'm going to be using the Warlord Piper with his kilt for Bill Millin. So that's my Higher Officer set. And then as regards these last ones, as I've said, they're just going to be backups, which I'll get to. And as for Brigadier Peter Young, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him. Whether I'll paint him up as an alternative leader for other missions, I don't know. I might do. Probably will, actually. And then the final officer that come with the Artisan set, I'm going to use as the platoon leader for my heavy weapons platoon, which is what we're going to be starting on next. So basically, this is the first platoon, the rifle platoon, is done now, and they're just spares. So this is the first figure for my heavy weapon platoon, and like this one, I shall be putting it in one of my 3s, and I'm going to put it with 2 additional Commandos. Right, I'm going to clear my deck now of some of these other bits and bobs that I've got out, and what we'll do then is we'll be opening up my heavy weapon stuff. So obviously I've got 2 Vickers MMGs, and I've got a mortar team. Now the other thing I will be doing out of the sprues that I bought, I will be making up some Piat teams as well, but I'll come back to them. I'm going to start with these. Right, let me get self sorted and then I'll bring you back. Right, so it's on to the second platoon. Well, we've got the second platoon leader. Obviously he's going to need a couple of supporting men like the other one. But before I build them, I think I'm going to have a go at these first. So let's have a look at one of the Vickers MMGs.
Right, first thing to do with these is to clean off any of the flash and the extra bits. Make sure I don't trim off anything that's necessary. So I'll just get these all cleaned up.
I'm just going to use super glue on these. That's going to fit. Yeah, that's going to fit. Right, and then with the machine gun itself, you can't see it very well, but there's a little pin sticking out the bottom that sits in that hole. So I'm just going to add a little bit of super glue to that. Just trying to close in on this bit while getting the belt in position with the kink in it. It's so fragile. I would advise when you're bending it to shape that you take your time with it, because it's very fragile when you start bending it. So it's very difficult to give you a good angle on this. I'm not convinced this is much use, but right, that's the 3 characters in place. Final one. Right, let me change the angle for you again. Wait a second. Right. I'm not going to try and say that that wasn't fiddly, because it was. For a start, this chap's not even on his base, even though I've tried to file him down. And the belt itself is very, very fragile. In fact, I've had to add a little bit of super glue here now, because it looked like it were going to fracture. I suppose it's inevitable when you're dealing with, you know, thin little pieces of, you know, alloy like this. It's gonna be difficult, but yeah, it was a bit tricky. But if you just take your time with it, it's fine. There's not a lot to actually putting it together. It's just a matter of, you know, being careful. Right. Given that that was such a pain, I'm going to do the other one off camera. I hope you forgive me. And then I'll bring you back. I probably shouldn't say this, but this one went a lot easier. Probably tempting fate, because I've got my mortar crew to do next. But yeah, that went a lot better. Probably because I wasn't, you know, looking to check whether I was on camera and things like that. So, you know, maybe it's not as bad as I made out on the first one. Or maybe it's just a bit of practice. So that's my 2 Vickers machine guns for my heavy weapon platoon. Right, as I say, time to look at the mortar. The first thing I'm sticking in place on my mortar is the actual mortar itself. I've made that centralised. There wasn't that much to trim off. There was a little bit on the actual mortar itself, but mainly just little bits of flash on some of the soldiers. That's better. At least this one should be relatively simple. Put his head in first though anyway. Right, so that just leaves a few things to do. I've got my 2 MMGs, I've got my medium mortar, I've obviously got my platoon leader for my heavy weapons platoon. So I need a couple of chaps to back my platoon leader up, and then I need 2 PIAT teams. So what I'm going to do now is I'll make these 2 off camera because they're just standard men, and then I'll bring you back for the PIAT teams.
Right, so on to the PIAT team. I'm going to go with the weapon slung over his right shoulder, and then for the left shoulder I'll probably have him carrying his ammo. And I'll probably do the same for the other one, really. It'd be nice if there was a figure, you know, an action figure with him actually firing it, but I think this will do for now. At least it's going to be clear when it's on the table, and that's the main thing.
Right, so he's complete. I've gone for a fairly simple pose here. I've got him carrying the spare ammo and the PIAT. Let's just stick his bags moved out of place. That's better. There we go. And at the same time I've made up the other one. This is a slightly different stand, that's all. Nothing special, gone with the same kind of thing really. It'll make them instantly recognisable for me from the back and from the front. So all I've got to do now is build their loaders to go with them, and I think there's an option where they can carry machine guns. So with that in mind, what I have done, unfortunately I forgot to do this on the camera, but there is a right arm just holding the machine gun on its own, but I noticed it hadn't got the actual ammo plugged in, so it's just plain, because obviously it comes with another arm, a left arm, putting that in. So what I've done is, from my weapon sprue, I've just cut that piece off of another one and stuck it on there, so at least he can fire something if he needs to. Because in the other arm I'm probably going to go for another bag, just to make it easier to recognise that he is, you know, with the PIAT chap. So Right, so I'm going to do another one of those off camera, and what I'll do now is I'll just build up the support and then I'll bring you back. Right, I've literally used all 30 men now from that commando box, and I've got my 2 PIAT teams. I've made the men to, you know, the support people for the ones carrying the PIATs. So they're for my 2nd platoon. Put one behind each one. I had a figure left to make a spotter for my medium mortar, and I'd got 2 figures left, and I thought, well, you know, I don't know whether I'll field all of this in one go, but I've certainly given myself plenty of options to make different size armies out of this. I mean, for instance, this entire section could just run with the 2 squads here and not that one, or you know, one of the others out and those 2. So I thought, with the 2 figures that were left, and because it gives you the equipment in the commando section, I've made a light mortar, and with him is the chap carrying some mortar rounds for him. So that's a light mortar, and that would go in the rifle platoon if I so wished. So basically, that's them complete now. The only thing that I've got to do now is base them up. And I'm going to do that because if you look at the figures that I've already got, they've already got their bases on the bottom. And they're a brown base. Well, what I thought is I could actually put that base in place and then prime it, and then I can dress it as I want to, because obviously I want it relatively simple base, because my main reason for using the Commandos is for Normandy, and I'm wanting them to be coming from the beach to make their way to relieve the airborne holding Pegasus Bridge. So I don't really want to have a nice green surface on this, because it's going to make them clash too much. And at the same time, I can't just use sand either. So I'm going to go for a bit of a basic base on these. But that is my first 3rd edition army, or soldiers ready to be selected as an army. But I have built it specifically with a rifle platoon and a heavy weapons platoon in mind. Right, so I've gone ahead and based up these now. If I just bring them forward for you to see, you can see that I've just done a basic sand and grit type look. I'm going to be painting that and get it a dark colour, and then probably overbrush it after I've painted the figure. But I'm going to cover it with the primer as well to seal it in. So I mean, that's got all of the additional figures from my rifle platoon and from my heavy weapon platoon. So this is the rifle one, and again I've based all these. This is the heavy weapons platoon, and they're all, as I say, based up and sealed, ready for priming, which I'm going to be getting to soon, but that'll probably be another video when I do the painting at some point in the future. I've got quite a few bits to get through at the minute, so, but Yeah, I'm quite happy with the look of it. It's certainly going to give me a lot of flexibility for working with the new rules when they drop. Well, probably by the time I see this, they will have dropped. But I have got lots of other bits in front of these now, so I'm going to have to... I'll just get them primed at some point and then leave them to one side, ready to begin again. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm sorry it's been a little bit scatter and I've had to drop photos in. I was struggling really to keep things in full view on my basic camera arrangement. But hopefully you've gleaned something from it. And at the end of the day, I'm just pleased to say that I've actually built my first version 3 army that's specifically for version 3. That said, as I've said probably throughout the video, I will be going back through my other armies and, you know, making up different configurations to suit the new rules. But I'm just glad that I've actually completed a commando army now, so it just gives me another string to my bow in Normandy battles. Anyway, I'm waffling on. Thanks for tuning in. If you've got any questions, please drop them below. I always answer. If you've liked it, you know, it always helps if you can give me a thumbs up. You know, just let me know that you've enjoyed it, because to be honest, that's the thing that's best, that I enjoy best about these videos. It's just having that bit of feedback and chat with everybody online. It just makes you feel like you're doing it as part of a group rather than sitting in your workshop on your own doing it. If you're watching it for the first time and you've not seen my other videos, please consider subscribing. You know, feel free to share it to, you know, if you've got any friends that are into it. I'm not one of your young sprightly YouTubers, I know. I'm not very, not much of a YouTuber, but hey, at least I'm communicating and sharing my hobby. That's the main thing. Anyway, I'm waffling again. I'll see you again soon. Bye.